Here we go, everyone. Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Vancouver Real. My name is Mike Zaremba, and we are podcasting here out of Float House at 70 West Cordova Street. And with me is my brother Andy.
Hello again, everybody. How's it going? And of course, like my brother said, we are out of Float House. And if you like what you hear today, check us out on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook. We're on all the social channels. And give us a rating and review, because we are right now currently lost in a sea of thousands and thousands of podcasts. It's insane. And we need to get noticed. So if you could go on there, give us a little review, that'd be awesome. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your wife, tell everyone. Just tell the world about Vancouver Real.
Absolutely.
That would be fantastic.
And actually, it was really cool. I don't know how we missed it. In mid-December, we were on Vancouver is Awesome. It's a pretty cool website. And they actually listed us as one of the top 7 podcasts in the city. And we just posted it the other day when we found out. We're just like, hurrah, huzzah. You know,
It was yesterday, actually.
Yeah, I was ecstatic.
It went all over. I was like, it got shared around. Our buddies at One Yoga for the People shared it.
Yeah. So that was really exciting for us to get that kind of recognition, because this is a project that we've been doing for a long time now, but to kind of have someone unprompted go and find us and highlight us was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So really thank you to Vancouver is Awesome. Mm-hmm. And lastly, we'll give a quick shout out to Omega Point YouTube channel, who the gentleman there, Omid, is a collaborator here at Vancouver Real. He helps us behind the scene. He used to host and co-host, but and he'll jump on for an episode here or there, depending on his schedule. But Omid does a lot for us. He helps us with this project, and so we always want to plug his really cool YouTube channel, Omega Point. And if you haven't heard of it or checked it out, if you're by computer, go check this out. It's OMEGA Point in this YouTube channel, and just start checking out his videos. I guarantee if you're liking the content of this show, you'll probably really, really enjoy the content of his videos. So check him out on Facebook and YouTube. And let's move into today's show. This is kind of cool because I was actually able to visit with our guest today earlier this week and do a session with you to get some first-person journalistic, research done. I was I was putting my body in the laboratory.
We're very diligent.
Yeah.
We're so diligent. We are impeccable journalists. Impeccable.
We absolutely, man. Like, there's no agenda here. We are just out there to talk and see what's real, and hence that's the name. And today we have with us Dane Stevens. Now, Dane, he's the owner and director of a company called An Extraordinary Life and the Healing Center. And these are two companies that you use to create and promote healing, empowerment, and awareness for people. And you're the founder and creator of the soul recognition process. And this is what we're going to talk a lot about today. This is what I got to experience. And also another system called the Neuro trauma healing process. And both of these are empowerment and healing modalities that are getting attention from people all over the world and from all walks of life, because the commonality is you're a human being. And so you're going to have a subconscious, and we'll get into why that's relevant really soon. But first of all, Dane, welcome to Vancouver Real.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Cool.
Great to be here, and congratulations on your great show.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to talk more about this, because I mean we did the session, and then we kind of wrapped things up. I had to get on with my day, you as well, so we haven't really debriefed it really.
I was going to say and most time we do, and I'm interested in hearing your feedback and just and how it was for you, and
and
I didn't know if you wanted to do that live on air or not. So
why not?
All right,
why not? Let's get real.
These guys are for real.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. But why don't you first just maybe tell us a bit about your background, and then you can kind of get into An Extraordinary Life. That's your website as well, anextraordinarylife.ca, and what this project is, what this company is all about, and what you do with it. But just kind of take us back to your story a little bit, and take us to how you got to where you are.
Okay. Just to give you my upbringing, my story from there, I'm from the interior British Columbia, Salmon Arm, British Columbia. Grew up on the lakes playing hockey and loving the life out there. And skipping ahead, my father owned a sports shop, so did a lot of sports, and hockey was our thing, as well as water skiing and so on. But as far as skipping ahead to what happened for the neurotrauma healing process is I had a childhood trauma that I didn't know if I dealt with or not. And I'll just put it out there, it was a sexual abuse thing. It's not exactly uncommon. And I had an issue with my relationships. My life was really doing extremely well in all areas except my relationships. So because of this, I felt I needed to look and see if I had actually dealt with this issue. And so I went to a couple groups and saw some counseling and so on, and nothing seemed to really work for me or gel for me. So I went to a recommended healer. And I didn't know anything of trauma or anything of energy at that time. I, had a very strong spiritual practice, so I was very grounded in my meditation practice and so on. So I felt really grounded in myself, but my relationships still weren't where I wanted them to be. But I went to this healer, and she tried to force the trauma out of me. And I, like I say, knew nothing of energy or healing at that time. And she said that, basically told me she was going to try and pull it out. And it's like, okay. And she did, and she said that when it broke, stuff would happen. And I don't know how many sessions in, 10 or 12 sessions in or whatever it was, this energy circuit that she talked about broke, and I was scared instantly for no apparent reason, and like I was plugged into a 220 outlet, and I just had jittery platelets. At that point, I had a very successful business, training business, some coaching, and great clients, and I was traveling and living in a place I wanted, driving the vehicle I wanted, and so on. When that broke and when I was instantly scared, the inside that creates outside, my life started to crumble. I started to lose everything. And I did. I lost contracts and clients, and I wasn't a millionaire by any stretch, but within 2 years I was broke, and within 3 years I was homeless.
Wow.
So I went on a match. After a while, through this process, she stopped seeing me, and partly because I ran out of money, but the big thing is she didn't know what she did. I think she was scared, didn't know how to fix it. And one of the things I learned in the search, I went on the search to what the hell happened to me and how to get my life back, and that's where I really learned that most therapists don't understand trauma. And most of the counselors and therapists I saw were just at odds with me and didn't know what to do with me. So finally, I ran into somebody, Hazel, who understood trauma, who was a student of Peter Levine, who was somatic experiencing. So I understood and learned about trauma there. So that was huge. But it still didn't give me the full relief, but I had some understanding and some relief. And then I ran into John Bradshaw's information in John Bradshaw's book, and it had some alternate left-right brain work in it. And I made the connection there, and I just knew something was there, but I couldn't. It's like I fought with myself for about 8 months doing that work, trying to do John Bradshaw's work, and it's great work, but you can't do it on your own. I didn't know that. So I was trying to convince other counselors, therapists to do this work or to help me with this work. And finally, I found somebody who did it. And within 2 or 3 months, I had gotten relief and was taking it on myself. So that's the neurotrauma healing process.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and so that's from there, it just kind of all unfolded and developed. And I do not know why this has not been developed. It's the safest and the most powerful way that I know. It gives you direct access to the subconscious mind, and I don't know anything else that does that.
Well, you said some really interesting things there. And one thing I wanted to bring up really quick was a lot of shamans or cultures that had shamanism. If there was an extreme trauma in someone's life, people would be like, "Oh, you got to go deal with that. Go get this out of you, right?" And that's something that's kind of been lost. But if something happens to us, we kind of just sit on it and we bury it down. It gets written into our bodies. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, well, then you're going to have all these different things happen in your life that you might not be conscious of because of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to actually. Yeah.
And the other thing that you said I thought was interesting is when you went for the healing, they said they were forcing the trauma out of you.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, how? It seems very counterintuitive. How do you force trauma out of somebody?
For that one, she did body work. I don't know. She did cranial sacral. I didn't know much about the healing field at that point. I was, like I say, training and coaching, but didn't do any of the healing, didn't know any of the healing stuff. So she had me twisted in different positions on the table and tell me to go there. And I remember at one point just hanging out in the ozone and not even knowing which way was up. And I didn't, she came recommended, and I didn't know any better. But now I know you do not force a trauma out. And now that is probably the biggest trauma that I've had was working with this therapist and this healer. So,
That's
that being said, and this is a little conversation down the road, that too was on purpose. So on one hand, I talk about that like somebody did something to me, but I don't believe when there are victims, only volunteers kind of thing. And if this hadn't happened, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. So it's been a long road to forgiving this person because I went through some pretty crazy stuff, but that's part of my process too. So that's, kind of a quantum leap in this conversation. But I understand that I asked for that and now I want to skip back to what you said about trauma because trauma is just so it's 90 everybody, not everybody, but 90% of people are carrying some form of negative pattern in their life. And trauma is not the right word. It's the only word we have in the English language that means something stuck looping in your central nervous system. So when we say trauma, we think it's an explosion or getting majorly abused or going to war, what have you. If you are living with a high-functioning alcoholic, you have to compensate somehow. You have to cope. Even if you're dealing with somebody who has OCD or obsessive-compulsive, and you don't really know that, that's just mom kind of thing. But you're still compensating. So there's still something looping within there for that compensation. So there's what's called a big T and a little t. The big T trauma is the explosion, is the severe abuse and so on, where you've been traumatized. But the little t is something like living with a high-functioning alcoholic or experiencing an accident that you weren't even in and being traumatized by what you saw and stuff like that. That can have effect on you and you don't even know it.
What would you say are some like for people that maybe have a little, like I think the big T traumas are pretty prevalent. Like you can tell when someone's like, wow, that person's, they're struggling with something.
Yep.
But what about the little T traumas? How can those kind of show up in people that maybe not might even be aware at this point? What are some common things to kind of look for?
Well, the thing is, we're not here to search for witches, but if you have a negative pattern in your life, that's the sign. So if you have any negative pattern or, a chronic pain, we're dealing with the chronic people in pain network right now.
Yep.
So any negative pattern, any chronic condition, any addiction, anything that you've been dealing with that haven't been able to, you've been working at in earnest and haven't been able to get get a handle on, I can pretty much guarantee you have something stuck looping in your central nervous system.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. And, it was kind of cool because when I came in and saw you on Tuesday, you took me through I'd say like an intensified version of it. I mean, I think because we were kind of limited on time, but we kind of you start asking some questions. You start asking some different questions and setting an intention is what you called it, and writing down different things to me, and I had to kind of start digging in almost. This is kind of what the process was, right? So can you maybe go into that process a little bit, the soul? Is that what I did? Did I do the soul one, or did you do the neurotrauma healing, or is it kind of a combo?
It is, because in the start is a neurotrauma healing process, because that's where it's just so needed. People that have traumas, I mean, they need this, people with addiction and so on. They need to know about this information. So we created the NTHP, the neurotrauma healing process. But with the little t, and it's Peter Levine, who is pretty much the grandfather of trauma, who said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when for trauma. So, like I say, most people have something stuck looping in their central nervous system, but not everybody has experienced that blatant trauma. So if you say neurotrauma healing process to somebody who can't get a healthy relationship, or can't get above a certain level of their finances, or keep self-sabotaging themselves, but it's nothing major, or it's doesn't come from a major trauma, they probably wouldn't relate to the neurotrauma healing process just because of the name.
Gotcha.
So we have the soul recognition process. And also with the neurotrauma healing process, to take somebody who's had a major trauma to the point of spiritual awareness, that's just a big leap, a big jump. So if the neurotrauma healing process automatically goes into the soul recognition process.
I see. So,
but you still have to have that foundation of doing that inner work of
Right.
connecting and healing those parts of you that have split off.
Yeah, yeah, and that's such an interesting. Now let's go into what do you mean by the healing part? Because like, what's being healed? Like when I think of being healed, it's like I have a disease, or I have a broken bone, or a torn muscle, or like what are we actually healing here? In your words, when we're talking about the healing element of it?
Right. So the healing is in the connection. And this is elusive work. It's spiritually based work. And when I say spiritually based, um, I'll just touch upon some basic grade 11 science, which science has shown us that everything is circulating, everything's moving, there's nothing hard in the universe. We know that. That's science. Take it one step further, we see that everything broken down to smaller leptons and protons has the same physical qualities or properties. I mean, the cement floor in our human flesh and dust from the moon, it's all made of the same carbon-based stuff. Taken one step further, we take the latest one is quarks and morks, I believe is the latest one that we've broken it down to in scientific terms, shows us that there's nothing here but energy, ultimately. That being said, our bodies are the effect, not the cause. And too many times in North America, when we're trying to heal something, it's trying to get rid of something. So here we ask the question, what is that? Not how do I get rid of that? And also when you say, how do I get rid of that, it's also denoting there's something wrong. But when you have a chronic pain in your body, an ongoing issue, it's trying to get your attention. So something like a torn muscle, unless you keep tearing muscles, that's kind of a one-shot thing. So that may not be what you utilize this work for.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question for you off the bat. Why is it that traumas get so ingrained in us and they get stuck in that central nervous system loop like you were talking about?
So that's what I do in my presentations. I show how we work. How we process things is they come in through the right brain, which is fantasy, formless, color, sound, imagination. It gets passed over to the left brain, which is organizing, making sense of, understanding, filing. If something is too scary, too bizarre, too outrageous, the left brain can't look at it, can't make sense of it, can't file it. So what does it do? Ships it back to the right brain. What does the right brain do? The right brain does what the right brain does. Sends it back to the left brain to be made sense of, understood, filed. If it's still too much, too bizarre, it gets sent back to the right brain, and hence that cycle has begun. And consider it like a record where the groove keeps getting deeper and deeper. So the longer you've had this trauma, the more ingrained it is in you, and it just happens. And because it's part of your central nervous system, when it gets triggered by sight, sound, smell, whatever that is, it's just there. And that's where people who have trauma feel helpless,
So
hopeless.
I'm guessing the more severe traumas are the ones that get deeper ingrained.
Yeah, and the thing with trauma is you just don't know how it's going to affect the person, how they'll respond to it. There's so many variables around why a person gets traumatized, even if they will be traumatized, and how they handle it. Because some will go into two states, one of two states. You either go into fight or flight, or you go into freeze and immobility. It's been said that you go into fight or flight, but if you can't get away, then you go into freeze and immobility. There's just so many variables that we don't know how it's going to affect certain people. So it's just such a crapshoot. You know when you have something looping your central nervous system because it'll come out as a negative pattern. When somebody's affected, I mean, we can have an accident and 6 people will be highly affected and 2 will be a little affected, and the rest will be not affected at all. We don't know how that is.
I think that's a really interesting point about the fight or flight. Everyone kind of knows about that or has an idea around fight or flight. But what was the second half of that?
Freeze and immobility.
Freeze and immobility.
And here's the irony of that. We all know a fight or flight person. We've all seen the person who's busy, going, can't stop, going. And unfortunately, in this society, they're supported because they tend to be productive. And the fight or flight person could be somebody running a multi-million-dollar company, the CEO, because he can't stop and he's going. And because of that, he gets a lot done, and therefore he gets credit and gets kudos in the society. And we've had a couple high-level athletes come forward 2 years ago on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Hickey, R.A. Hickey, and the judo, the girl who won the gold medal in judo, they both came forward sharing that they had been traumatized as children, and that's what was running them in their lives. It was not fun in that pursuit of
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. The other side of that is the freeze and immobility. So in the fight or flight, the tapes running are, I gotta go, gotta run, can't stop, gotta keep moving, gotta go, gotta run. And if it goes into freeze and mobility, it's freeze, can't be seen, hide, can't move. And
Deer in the headlights.
yeah, and that could be the guy in the street. And like we just talked about, we don't know how different people respond to different traumas. It's just so there's too many variables. Those two people could be not very far apart in their upbringing, and all of a sudden really have a huge split in their life. That person running the corporation, that guy in the street, aren't that different of people. And that's one thing. This work has been an incredible awakening for me because it levels the field.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
How do you feel, or is it possible for people who are at that level on the street, variety of issues that they might have, to turn their lives around and get up to that CEO level within a certain amount of time? Is that even possible?
Once again, there's just so many variables. In this work, what always blows me away is I have quit even trying to guess who will really embrace this and get this and who won't, because you just don't know. And as long as a person, if you do this work, it's certain, because you're dealing with the left-right brain. You're processing stuff, and it's stuff that has not been processed. If you show up for this work, and we say there's two variables, or two, not variables, but two prerequisites for this work. One is you have to be open-minded, because it's abstract work. Your left logical brain won't get that in and say, no, this can't work, this is ridiculous. And the other one is you have to be open to the potentiality or the possibility that you're potentially completely responsible for your life, because this will show you that you've been creating your life. And to justify that, it's not about blame, but what it is if you were abused as a child, it's not your fault, but if it's still cycling within you, it's cycling within you. So therefore, it's you that has the ability to unfreeze that. So if you are insistent on blaming somebody else or blaming other people or other situations for your situation, you're not willing to look inside yourself and heal that. So this really is giving your power back, not blaming you.
And that I find that a really interesting idea. What do you think people who, what's the difference between people who are willing to go inside, take a look at themselves and heal that thing, and people who just won't even go there? They just won't go there no matter how hard you try to get them, even if it's for their own good, they won't do it. Mm-hmm. What's the difference in the people, or is there a difference? Can you even tell?
Yeah, that's one thing is, we do an initial session, and it's to see if it's a fit for the person. See if that's something that they're open to, because if they're not, there's no sense in, but that openness is simply a choice. Beyond that, if a person's open, you will see some people who are a lot more protected, and protected tends to mean left-brained. And left-brained is about control, is about knowing, and those people have trouble letting go.
Analytical.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And that being said, I worked with a business guy, and I honestly didn't expect him to, and he's one of the biggest success stories we've had. And the type of people that are attracted to this work is coaches, counselors, and therapists, people who have done a lot of work, and people who need change. Because if they're ready to have change, they'll get it.
So potentially it could come down to anyone's ability to be open, how open they are, and to receive the therapy.
Yep. That's the degree of success that you'll achieve. Is how open you are is the degree of success that you'll experience in this work. So yeah.
Interesting.
And I think typical too, a lot of people who, some people are just naturally kind of more open and exposed and open to that sort of experience because of just how their life experiences have gone.
Right.
But then other people who maybe haven't been might turn to out of almost near desperation. It's like, look, I don't know what to do here. I'm looking for anything, and that's what brings their openness. Like, I really want help here, and I want to help myself. So I can see how you might get two types of openness.
Absolutely.
Coming into you, or within a spectrum, obviously. But yeah, and that's, I mean, for me, from my experience with working with you, it was I'm in pretty open based off of, I'd say, more from my life experiences and the things I've experienced has allowed me to come into this with like a very open, like, yes, of course I could try this and give it an honest try, you know what I mean? But I'll comment on my experiences that I could see how some people might be just already wired a little bit more, their wires to their subconscious might be a little bit more connected than others.
Right.
And it's not that I can't get there. I think I was dabbling with it, but I think with a bit of practice almost, like I think there is a process, you said, right?
Yeah.
You'll probably get more results. I could definitely see how that could be something that you get better at.
Yeah.
You get better at just like letting the subconscious flow out.
Exactly.
And it's really cool because my dominant hand is my right hand. And so we're going through these things. I'm writing a letter to myself and writing it out with my ego, myself, or whatever. I don't know.
Conditioned mind, yeah.
Sure. So I'm writing it out. And then I'm responding with my left hand, and I'm literally writing it out and trying to just let it come out. When I was doing it, what I was trying to do was just whatever was coming to my head first, just like, it might be one word, like 5 years old, or whatever it was, and just like write it down, And so I went through this whole process of basically, for me, it ended up being having a conversation of the 5-year-old Mike. That's what I went through, and going and having kind of going through an experience that was coming out from when I was scared in the basement at Roy Ivor.
Wow, because you used to sleepwalk like crazy.
I did
when you were a
sleepwalk.
Oh,
kid.
is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember one time I did find myself down there, and I didn't know how I got down there.
Oh.
And remember, actually, I mean, because this was actually when I was working with you on Tuesday. It was about an incident with my father.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what did I want? I wanted the lights to turn on. Turn on the lights.
And that's what I was, that's where, like you say, we didn't get a chance to decompress.
Right.
And you were open. So great to work with you, and you made a connection right away. Some people, it's not the case. And just to touch upon what you said,
Sure.
The more you do it, the less the resistance. So the resistance goes lower and lower, and it gets purer and purer. And and that's where it goes into, you get guidance, which is like very elevated wisdom coming from as you heal those parts.
I could totally see how that's possible. And I think I was able to, like, I could feel it. I was like kind of tapping into that. And I think it's kind of like when you go into the float, like I think that pathway starts to express itself because we are getting that hemisphere synchronization. The right brain is starting to come into the left a little bit. You're becoming aware of that stuff, So I think that part has been a little bit developed in me just from my practices here in yoga and meditation and entheogenic work. But this was cool because also he put me through a guided meditation, and that part, like, I felt it. I'm good at dropping into that now.
Okay.
I'm really good at just, okay, boom, let's go.
Right.
And you took me through this visually guided meditation.
And how when the lights went on, did you feel anything? What happened there?
I
Because you'll feel it within your body. You'll feel that 5-year-old, because that 5-year-old is within you.
For me, it was really just, because a lot of it was working with the heart and that part of me and bringing the child form of me back home to my heart. Yeah. And for me, it was just really that part, just that sensation of this part of me just getting stronger and stronger, more visceral, and just working with that really beautiful energy that you can start to experience within your heart center, nice. And that was it. And I can't say for certain that I felt as distinct as soon as the lights were on. It was like that. It wasn't quite like that for me, but throughout the course of the session, it was just this meditative expression thing, and I was doing that. I was just going through what you were guiding me through. So it was really cool.
Can you talk a little bit about the mechanism? What's going on there? How do you increase that permeability between the conscious and subconscious mind?
So, comment. But yeah, one of the things is, Mike was open.
Yeah.
And people come to this work, and especially, sometimes they have some real stuff. And whether we like it or not, 75 to 90% of our stuff comes from our childhood. So you have to be willing to go back there. And in that, this, because I'm adamant about it because of what I went through, has to be safe. So it's completely safe and it's gentle. But you have to be willing to go back. And when you make the connection, so what happens is, as we talked about in the left-right brain, when something is looping in your central nervous system, it's unprocessed. So it's unprocessed means it's stopped at that time. Time stops at that. That 5-year-old was alive within you, was still experiencing that within you. And once again, left logical brain, that doesn't make sense to. We want to just try and blow through that. But when you get to this part and you unfreeze that, and that therefore the looping stops, that gets processed, you have just accessed another part of yourself. You just claimed another part of yourself back. And I don't want to get too new age here, but it is. It's soul retrieval work.
You can go there.
Oh yeah, with this audience, that's why they're here. No, we go down the rabbit hole.
You are claiming that part back, and you will literally feel it in your body.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, I want people to understand is you do not have to lay on the couch and learn your story in this work for 2 or 3 years. And we don't sell it as a quick fix. It's not about that. It's about a relationship. But when you make the connection, the relationship to that part within you, it develops. It grows up naturally into your authentic self, your divine self, shall we say. So it's not like you have to play in the sandbox. And there's some things where we'll give people homework where you write and you do what this part of you wants, or you ask what it wants or needs, because you're dealing with a part of you that's been separated or wounded. And it might be, for a girl taking a bubble bath or playing with a doll. For a guy, it might be riding the bike, or even, playing Batman. We had one guy who played Batman. I'm just like, how is he going to do this? And he went and played with his daughters. It was great. And he's got a 6 and a 9 year old. So he incorporated it in. But this work really works with you. It's infinite intelligence is always here, so it'll come out in a way that supports you. And when you do these things that support this inner life, it feels good and it feels bizarre. Like, why does, coloring in this coloring book feel good? But it does. It'll make you feel good, and you don't have to do that for long periods of time. We work with our clients for a month, 2 months, 3 months tops, and they take it over from there. And they, if they haven't got full healing, they'll continue on and get their healing from there.
All right, thank you. So my next question would be, all right, you kind of got into that a little bit. You've identified
question.
Yes.
Okay.
You've identified the trauma. You've gone in there. You found something. Now what? How does that trauma actually heal?
Yep. So once again, it's profound because you will know when you've connected with that part, and you'll know when the healing's occurring. And what we call it traction. And what traction is, you have traction when you have a positive relationship with that life within you. And the positive relationship, it's positive when you're writing, when the answers come out for your non-dominant hand, because it's a writing exercise we do the testing through. When it comes fully positive for a consistent period of time, then you have traction. From there, you go into empowerment. And then we go into the archetypes. And that's where you get to learn about the specific aspects of yourself. That's not a Freudian, but Jungian. He discovered the archetypes. And it's profound because you'll be dealing with different aspects of yourself and giving these different aspects of yourself what they need. And that's how you become fully expressed. And you become fully expressed in a very natural way because it's you. And it's all information that's specifically for you. So
it's very intriguing.
It is.
Can you get into the archetypes? What are they?
So 4 archetypes: the lover, the sovereign, the magician, and the warrior. And we all have those aspects. We have the warrior. We need to go out and, for guys, we need to do sports or run or whatever we need to do. It's also just the will, and it tends to be physical, but it can also just be, getting something done at your desk, that ability to follow through. So we all have the warrior, and we need to exercise the warrior in different ways for different people. The lover need beauty, sensuality, touch. We all need that. We all have that. We have that need for touch, for beauty, and to have those senses nurtured. Next one is the magician. Magician is playfulness, curiosity, manifestation, creativity. So that's also an aspect of our being that we need to exercise and feed. And the last one is the sovereign, which is our leadership. And that's based in wisdom. Meditation is a foundation for for our sovereign, and it's the leader within, and the leader within isn't
A
leading with
dictator?
an iron fist. It's inclusive and it's wise, harmonic.
All right, so we've gone through the archetypes. Do people have all of the archetypes within them? Does
Yes.
everyone have a little bit of everyone in them, but you have a more
Yeah.
dominant type, perhaps?
Just about, and everybody's different, and it's interesting because your archetypes are actual, I'm gonna say beings within you, but they have their own personality, and they're a part of your personality, and that's where it's bizarre and profound because you'll be, communicating with this part of you that is you, and you recognize that part in you because it's you, but it is its own entity and will give you information as to what it needs to thrive.
Can you go through what each archetype needs?
It depends. That's where you get your information from you. And that's what I love about this work. I've been a coach for over 15 years. I don't call myself a coach anymore. I only facilitate this process because I don't know what's best for you, but I do know that you do. And that's where we get your answers from with you. And there's no guesswork. Your healing, if you do this work, it's certain. If you do this, you will continue upward and onward in your level of awareness and expression.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very intriguing.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be kind of a cool, just subtle exercise for people to even kind of start watching themselves in the behavior. Like, oh, look at me when I was playing that game of foosball. I got really, really into it. That is your warrior type.
Yeah.
It's like when you get really into something,
Or
that's
Brazilian
okay.
jiu-jitsu?
Or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or whatever it is, right? Or when you're in that flow state and you're building something, you're creating something, painting, or even just having a creative conversation, a brainstorming session. That's probably tapping into magician. So it's like take note of that and see how you are, and maybe see which one's coming up more in your life and stuff like that. Just to start to familiarize yourself with your archetypes and those parts of you.
And what you said, which is key, is the feeling, which is right brain. And we are such a left brain dominant society, and in trauma, and this is a generalization, but in trauma the right brain gets locked out, and the right brain is the feeling side, and that's where your passion. I mean, to feel good means to feel, and to feel your passion means to be able to feel. That's your guidance system. So what feels good? Pay attention to that.
Yeah,
right.
And too many times we've been shut down from our feeling right brain.
So you've identified the trauma.
Yep.
You've healed the trauma.
Yep.
You've identified your archetype.
Yep.
You're working through that. What does a fully empowered person look like? What kind of character traits do they usually display?
So we're all here with our own individual journeys, and our own characteristics, personalities, and so on. But what you're identifying ultimately is effortless effort, flow. You get to be you. And what's really cool about this work, especially when people are going through healing and people have experienced abuse and so on, they end up setting boundaries. And it's not out there setting boundaries. It's not animated, and they don't feel guilt, and they come back and say, wow, I just said no, or it just happened. It's like, because when the inside changes, the outside changes. So this sounds kind of pie in the sky, but there's nothing to do when you do this process. You let yourself be who you are. And that's the beauty of this. It's not a technique. It's not about overcoming or blowing through anything, and it's not about compensating. It's about letting yourself be who you are.
It does seem like some people are probably further along that path than others. And I was wondering if you could just identify some people who you feel that would be publicly known, that are really just in that flow state, walking their path, that are just living who they're supposed to be.
Yeah, honestly, I really wouldn't even... It's kind of, that's like the analyzing thing.
I guess you don't really know.
And I mean, one person, you look at Eckhart Tolle. Does anybody be better than Eckhart Tolle?
He's the best beer ever.
He just bees all day.
He gets that
Bees
trophy.
all day.
He's beautiful.
But I mean...
Okay, all right, enough. You're getting silly now. We don't do that.
But, I mean, there's so many. So I'm trying to...
I mean, you gotta wonder about like some of these guys. Like, for example, like look, some are uber successful, like Oprah. What do you think Oprah is?
Well, I mean, Oprah and Eckhart are, they work together. Yeah. Sure, they're buddies, and she just loves his stuff. So, I mean, she's practicing, and you look at that, and I think that's where I hesitate to go there, because the idea of success in
Right.
society today is somebody who has just gone out there and driven, and somebody who has marketed themselves hugely, and
I think
they
that's
may
changing.
or may
I
not
think that's
be happy.
changing, though, that perception.
It is.
It's such a subjective thing.
Shows like this.
Generally, if you're happy,
Yeah.
I'd say you're pretty successful.
Yep. That's the key. There's the
Agreed.
measurement. And the thing is, nobody can know that but you.
Right.
Nobody
You got to be
knows how
honest with
you're feeling.
yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah.
I think and back to the feeling. This is one I want to touch on. This is I think I'm hearing this a lot more now in kind of like personal empowerment, coaching kind of disciplines and coaching is like everyone's really shifting towards the feeling, connecting with the feeling of your body, your heart, kind of getting out of the thinking a little bit more into this and bringing a little bit more balance between the two. Yeah. And we're going to have a guest on, a guy named Philip McKernan in a few weeks. And he was actually on London Real and part of the London Real Academy as well. And so I don't know, that's one of his big take-home points too. It's like just getting into the feeling. And it seems like that's kind of, people are recognizing this being, people are too heady right now.
Right.
Let's shift that down. Let's get out of the head and feel what's going on, because that's going to give you really valuable information.
Yeah. And there's two aspects of that. One is, like you say, valuable information, because that's what's true for you. This thing lies to you all day long. Your body
Makes up a lot of
can't
stories.
lie. Yeah.
Right?
Power versus Force. Ever read that book?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, great book.
Yep.
The body can't lie. So your guidance system is how you feel, not how you think. And the other hand of that, part of that is, it is done to you and how you feel. So it's the vibration, how you're feeling, the energy that's going out from the feeling that's creating, not the thinking. The thinking has to do potentially with the feeling, but if you're living your mind, you're living your life from your thinking mind, you're probably living a pretty up and down, frustrated life, because you're trying to control something that is a tool. You're living from the tool, where it's, when you get into the point of feeling, this is a generalization again, but the thinking is secondary. It's not our mode of living. And it's just taken us over.
Yeah, and you're starting to kind of dabble into a field of study that's actually really becoming more popular in science now. It's called interoception. Have you heard that term before?
No, I don't know that.
So interoception, and I'm not an expert in it, but they're actually getting there's a lot of guys at the Float conference talking about this last year. And basically it's being able to study being able to use your own body as a biofeedback mechanism. So bringing more awareness into the sensations of the body, into the breath, into the heartbeat. So right now it's more on like a very physiological level of awareness and of that interoception. But I could see it advancing into more of like the subtleties, the energy sensations, and kind of tapping into it that way. So because, obviously the float tank is an amazing experience. If you're having issues connecting with this part, do something physical, but the float tank is, it's hard to trump that tool to let you have that, because it just takes away everything else, and all you have left is your body to feel, unless you're completely in your head. But once you can just let that beingness happen.
Especially, actually, me and Ann were talking about this, that the float house will attract people that may not be on the spiritual path, to check it out and potentially have an experience, huh?
Correct. I was
Because they
talking
get put
about that
in
today.
a zone where
Absolutely.
their left brain nothing to do. There's nothing there.
Yeah, that's how
It's a bit of a gateway facility.
it's a bridge.
Absolutely. Bridge.
Yeah,
I like
I was
that.
calling it a bridge. Like it's because you're right, because there's going to be people that might come in here because of a physical, chronic pain or a stress problem,
Right.
and so they're on some level like, I'm getting these signals from my body, maybe very acute and strong, like something's wrong. Let me go check out this floating thing, but just by being in there
What's
with
the
yourself.
float thing?
What is that? That's all we heard.
Thing.
The year before we opened, no one knew what floating was. So we're trying to tell people and get the ball rolling. And it was like, so how's the float thing going? And we're like, it's coming along. It's coming along. And then now it's just like.
They don't say it in the same tone anymore, do they?
No. They're like, floating's awesome. We're like, yeah, we know.
That was kind of cool.
We don't know.
Right before we opened, months before we opened, even when we opened, you walk down the street, talk to somebody, nobody would know what it is. Like the odd person, 1 out of 10 might know.
Yeah.
Walk down the street now, almost everyone has heard of it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, especially like I'm a nature fanatic and I meditate in nature. In the wintertime, I just moved back from California. So here, can't go out in nature and meditate in the wintertime. So this is a great gift to be
True.
able to. Yeah.
Cities and in cold climates especially are prime
Yeah.
prime for this, because you're right. You don't want to be outside all the time.
Yeah.
It's this is and then if you're in the city and it's hard for you to get out to nature, what the float tank does is it isolates that little bit of nature that you are.
Yep.
We are this little being of nature, and that environment lets you really tap into that. So it's cool.
I thought it was really cool too, is you guys had earplugs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really funny. I'll just tell you the story about earplugs. I teach meditation with earplugs. And here's what happened to me. I moved into the city, moved into Burnaby, and I'd been meditating for a few years. And it's like, oh my God, all this noise. I can't meditate. So I put earplugs in. So when I put earplugs in, I automatically heard this high-pitched sound. It's like, and I automatically just migrated to this high-pitched sound. And my meditation practice became listening to this high-pitched sound. And it would get closer and closer and closer and closer. And one day, it went through, and my mind stopped. I was just like, oh. And I was like, oh my God, I've discovered something.
So it wasn't tinnitus?
Yeah, they don't like this story. Yeah, they don't believe this story. So anyway, it was I don't know. That was over a 2-year period or whatever, a couple of years. I went up to, there was some Eastern guru who was putting on a meditation class up in Burnaby. So I thought, I'll go see what he has to say. I walk in there, and they handed me earplugs. I was like, And I was the only guy that showed up. And they told me of this meditation that's been going on for hundreds of years that goes from the sound that goes from your left ear to your right ear, the 7 levels of sound. It's just like, really? And the reason I tell that when I'm in the meditation class is because when you meditate, what you need shows up. It will, you'll be guided in the right direction. But I thought it was really cool that you guys had earplugs in there, because I meditate with earplugs.
No, and we encourage people to use them just for one, if they don't want to keep the
That's what I was thinking.
salt out of there, but it does help with the sound for sure. Yeah. So
Very
cool. What in terms of your practice now, what you're doing, you're featured, or you work out of North Van, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you do things always in person, or can this be done remotely as well?
No, just about all of our clients are done via, it's called Zoom, which is an advanced version of Skype.
Oh, cool.
And so we have clients all over the world. I started doing this when I lived in Los Angeles, and we kind of had to do it that way because if people had to drive an hour and a half,
right.
And if they did, they'd get there and be, have to try and decompress for 20 minutes. So doing the Zoom it just makes it easier. It's great. And we have clients from all over the world. And we also, we have an office now where we actually do one-on-ones. For a while we didn't, but we also can take people one-on-one locally in Vancouver here too. So
cool.
But it doesn't matter where you're at. So
we
have one facilitator in Germany and 2 here and 1 in the Okanagan. We need more people trained in this.
Okay, and tell how do people explore the training programs, and just to get more information in general? Is that all on the extraordinarylife.ca website?
Yep.
And take us through a little bit of the training. How long does that kind of take, and what's required to get into that?
It's the work is the training, because when you become whole in this work, and there's no secret that we teach we need to learn. And you go to a counselor's or a coach's convention, there's a lot of messed up people because we teach you we need to learn. It's not a joke, or not a secret. That's how I started. But through this work, you can heal the inner conflict and become whole. So you become a product of the product. And when you go through and you come to the place of you can come complete in this, you can be fully self-expressed through doing this work, and that's when you can take it on and help others.
Very cool.
Yeah. So the NTHP and the soul recognition, they're two levels. Yeah.
Excellent.
I found this is fascinating podcast. This is awesome
cool.
stuff.
That internal trauma and that healing process. It's you actually did a really good job of explaining that.
Yes,
very clearly.
One of the best I've actually ever heard.
Like woo woo. It was very like, well, this is kind of what's happening, and so.
Cool. So I actually have a presentation. I gave you. I put it on the board so you can see it, because. Yeah, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I have a presentation on the 27th. Come on out and check it out.
Okay, where is that?
Demo.
That's at the Music
January
Box.
27th?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
At the Music
Box in West Vancouver.
Music Box in West Van.
On January 27th.
Cool.
Yeah.
What time?
7 to 9. And it's interactive, so you get to actually experience it.
Great.
And,
And how can people sign up?
They can go on the website, should have it on there on
Okay.
the events page of An Extraordinary Life, or on the healingcenter.ca. It's healingcenter.ca.
Okay.
It's on there also. So either
Awesome.
of those sites. Yeah.
And cool. And any closing remarks you want to share with people out there just about this work at all, or?
I'll just share this one. Like we talked about trauma, and I really wanted to encapsulate this. In regards to animals and trauma, we've all seen an animal, maybe a dog gets hit by a car, or we've seen a bird fly into a window, and he drops on the ground, and you think he's dead, and he gets up after a few minutes and shakes and flies away. He's fine. And the dog gets hit by a car, and if he's not hurt too badly, he goes and lays under a bush or under a house, and he shakes. Comes out after 10 minutes, gives it one shake, and he's fine, and he's gone. And I don't know what happened to human beings, whether we've just gotten so comfortable that we no longer have that, or we never had it, because I think that we would probably have had it.
I think if you've ever seen somebody in trauma, I think they do go through a period of shock, whether they are shaking a little bit sometimes.
I wonder if our thing now kind of goes and almost interrupts that natural process somehow. Like we start to...
It could be a social thing. Like you get hit, you get struck, and you're like, oh, no, I'm good. And you just kind of shrug it off,
maybe
right?
a character thing, or who knows. It depends on the type of trauma, obviously, but... Or like, people think, I got to suck it up, or who knows what kind of thing. I mean, obviously, if someone's like hurt, then we're going to do medical attention. Right. But even then, like maybe when we start doing surgeries and anesthesia and all that kind of stuff, obviously we got to save someone's life. But maybe it does start to block. Well, maybe in that situation, back in the day, people would just be dead. They'd die. Right. But now that we can save them, but we don't really address the trauma part now, that's where shamanism or this type of work would fit in contemporary society, obviously.
Right.
And
but it's just I don't know if we ever had it. What's like you said, I don't know what happened.
Who knows?
But so many people, and all I have to say is, if you have a negative pattern, a chronic condition, or an addiction, I can guarantee you have something stuck looping your central nervous system if you have not been able to deal with it. So try this workout, and it just travels a long ways. So it's been great because we've been attracting some very spiritually driven people, because it creates such a level of spiritual awareness, but you just still have to heal. Those parts will come up that need to be healed, that have a split off from your authentic higher self. Mm-hmm. And then it just goes into you being who you are.
Yeah, a blooming.
That
blooming. There we go.
Yeah. So awesome.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I hope you do more sessions. We'd be more than happy to give them to you, because you're great.
Okay.
And,
I would like to try one.
Yeah, let me know.
Amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
All right, man. Yeah. Well, everyone, Dane Stevens joining us from anextraordinarylife.ca. Thanks so much for listening. That was awesome. Really, thank you so much for coming on.
Great show.
If you like this episode or any episode on Vancouver Real, please give us a rating and a review on iTunes. And check out our website, vancouverreal.tv. We have all of our episodes up there. You can watch the videos, check out the links, and check out London Real as well, London Real Podcast. It's a really cool podcast.
I wanted to give a shout out to the LRA, the
London Real Academy
people.
Yeah, we just became members of this new academy, so we're very happy and very looking forward to that community.
One of my goals right now is to get engaged with that community and get engaged with, in particular, the Global Real community, which is a network of podcasts. So there is New York Real, Toronto Real, I think there's a Dublin Real. There's a bunch of them.
Midwest
now.
Real.
Midwest Real.
Yeah. Wow, it's a movement.
London Real. So it's a whole thing
Bangkok,
now. And they're kind of popping up everywhere.
Yeah. So we're happy because we were one of the earlier ones, I think maybe third or fourth that come out of this little spin-off. And, when we've stuck to it now, I think you're number 57, episode 57. So, but it's really hitting its stride now. We're really excited for 2016. So just shout out to the LRA and thanks again for everyone listening to this and for supporting this podcast. We really enjoyed doing it, and we look forward to doing many more. So,
absolutely.
Thanks again, Dane.
Congratulations, guys.
Andy.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Till next time.
To whatever is.
To whatever is.
Whatever it is. All right.
Yeah.